My name's Rich, and this is your daily dose of Formula One news. Sorry I'm a little bit late, some technical issues on my side. But this morning, we're going to be talking about the Aston Martin car launch. We're going to be talking about the McLaren launch. Also, we're going to be diving into Max Verstappen complaining about the price of the super license, which honestly is insane. And I've got that number for you shortly. And also Felipe Massa talking about Ferrari and that they're going to win in Formula One. Please do remember to hit that like button, guys, and get involved in the chat. It's a much better show when you guys are involved in the chat. So first of all, we are going to dive straight into it being launch day for the new Aston Martin. This will be covered here on TSK F1. I'll be live tonight about 6:45. So you guys can come along to this stream and we can have a live reaction together, see what we think. I think we're going to be seeing this year's car, or a good portion of this year's car, in this reveal because of the time it is and things like that, how close it's going to be to the testing, which starts on the 23rd. There's only 10 days, so I think they're going to roll out. Maybe we'll see some side pod shape and things like that they're actually going to use. So I'm going to be live around 6:45 this evening with that stream. So please do make sure you come along for that. And following that, before that, we've got the MCL60, the McLaren launch, which will be at 5 o'clock this evening. So 5 o'clock is when they're launching it, so I'll be live about 4:45, and we can talk through it, and we can stream it, and have a live reaction together. I think they're really good shows, these launches, honestly, that we can go through it, and you may see it over on the side there. The Ferrari launch is tomorrow morning at 10:15, so I'll have the news show, and then I'll come back for the launch of the Ferrari as well. So 4:45, I'll be here for the McLaren launch. And about 6:45, I'll be here for the Aston Martin launch, and I'll be covering both of those. For those of you who follow me over on Pit Lane Sim Racing, I'm not going to be live there this evening because it's all going to be TSK F1 content this afternoon / this evening. Super excited for the Aston Martin launch and the McLaren launch. Do you think either of them are going? I really do want your input, guys. Do you think we're going to see new cars this evening from either of these? Do you think we're going to see the spec car, or do you think we're going to see the real car? What do you think in the chat? I think while it won't be the entirety of the car, I think we're going to see something somewhat representative of what we'll see rolling out in Bahrain on the 23rd for testing. And also Wednesday is the Mercedes launch as well, and I'll be covering that because that will be in this slot on Wednesday. So please do get involved. Make sure you're liking the stream and subscribing, guys. I think we're going to be seeing, I think we'll see parts of the new car. I don't think it's going to be a whole thing. Well, we'll be showing it here, and we'll show it, and we'll get along and see what we think, won't we? During the launch. Yeah, hopefully it's not a long-winded thing. I've liked some of, if some of them last like half an hour and maybe halfway through it you get the launch. They do, who was it? Alfa Romeo. I'm not a fan of Alfa Romeo, but theirs was some questions with the technical staff and things like that, asking some questions, speaking to the drivers, show the car. That's all that need be, isn't it? Not this whole huge marketing thing. Maybe a couple of words for the big sponsors and whatnot. But it's a bit over the top, especially when they're not actually showing a new car, right? But you know. So first actual news thing. Make sure you're here for that. 4:45 and 6:45 this evening. I'll be streaming them, guys, right here. Now, I've been reading that Max Verstappen has been talking about the super license fee, and I seem to remember I read something about this anyway previously, but Max has really gone to town on it, and I can't say I blame him, honestly, because the super license, which we've heard a lot about with Logan Sargent getting it to drive for Williams, and that Jamie Chadwick I don't think has one, and the IndyCar drivers couldn't get one. Maybe they wouldn't want one with the huge fee that comes attached to it. Now, basically, when you start and you get your super license, it's €10,400 just as a base, right? So the likes of Logan Sargent, they'll spend €10,400. They've got a super license. But then when you're established in Formula One, your super license costs you €2,100 per point on top of the €10,400 base fee, which you're like, oh, well, 2,100, for the amount they earn, it's not very much. But then when you take into account that Verstappen scored 451 points last season, that brings his total for his super license for this season to €963,000 800. Like, it's just insane. €963,000 for his super license. Yet the guys at the back who don't score any points pay 10,400. Now, I suppose it does scale because he'll earn a lot more than the guys at the back when the guys at the back actually probably pay for the seat in some way or another. They might be on a couple of €100,000 and he's on like €40 million or something like that. But that is crazy. It's a crazy amount, isn't it? Red Bull done my head in talking about snowboarders and stuff. Yeah, nothing to do with F1. It was just a marketing thing, wasn't it? Bloody hell, I thought when they said point, it was penalty point. Jesus. It's crazy though, isn't it? So when you first read it, you're like, oh, well, 2,100 per point. It's not that bad, is it? And then I actually did the maths on it and I was like, oh my Lord, nearly €1 million for the pleasure of scoring absolutely bucket loads of points. Now, what did he say on it? He said, I think the amount is absurd, he told motorsporttotal.com. I don't think it's right that we have to pay so much. That's not the case in other sports either, and there are more and more races, which is right, because it's only going to go up, right? If someone has an absolute barnstorming season and they win basically everything, the amount of money they're outlaying and the way he's complaining about it, it seems like it's a driver fee, not like he can offset it against Red Bull, because it'd probably come out of their cost cap, actually. But actually, his salary doesn't, does it? Because he's like, so because of how the cost cap works, his salary doesn't come out of it. But John says it feels like they're only charging that because they know how much F1 drivers earn. Where does the money go? Well, is the super license handed out by the FIA? I think it is, isn't it? It's an FIA thing. And I think on paper, the FIA are a non-profit, apparently. So I don't know. I don't know where the money goes or where they say it goes. Not a clue. It goes into the vast darkness of the FIA being a non-profit, but all of them walking around in $10,000 suits with $30,000 watches on. It goes into that kind of non-profit, I guess. Call me cynical. But yeah, I mean, even though he earned the most, it's crazy. Actually, Helmut Marko down at the bottom has said he has to pay it if he has the contract right in his head, and because he was asked on the spot about it, and he actually thinks he's liable for the cost of it. But there's definitely obviously been an internal conversation about it at Red Bull. If Verstappen's complaining about it and Helmut Marko's saying he's paying for it, then well, this is the thing, isn't it, Keith? You could see that. You could see that, couldn't you? Where drivers, they get to the point where they get to winning the title and they just don't score any more points. But I suppose they can't do that with the constructors and things like that. It's a bit weird, isn't it, that they're penalised so much. But I suppose, is it that bad still? Is it that bad? I mean, look, as a normal person, how much did Verstappen earn last season? Verstappen earnings 2022. $60 million. You know what? Actually, my sympathy has flown out the window there. That is a pre-tax total, though. That is a pre-tax total. So it's probably like, what, half that, something like that. I don't know, like 40 million or something. I don't know how much it would be that he's actually earned. Because then again, he probably lives in Monaco. I don't know. But say he still took home 40 million. It's still a lot of money. I'm finding my opinion on that changing very rapidly, because all I know is that normal people will pay for charter ships and that, like engineers and such. They'll pay a certain amount every year for charter ships and things like that. Nurses do, and I wonder what percentage of their income that is versus their income. You know what I mean? It's just a question. I don't know off the top of my head. Not a clue. I can't remember. But it's a thing. Is that with his sponsor payments or just F1 salary? Honestly, I just Googled it. I think bonuses, that's his salary and bonuses. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. We did a video on it, Ian. If you check back on the channel, we did a rundown of the top 10 earners on the F1 grid last season. There is a video on it. Principle of paying it per point, which seems wrong. Yeah. Because what happens this season if let's say, for argument's sake, I'm trying to think of someone. Say Yuki Tsunoda. I think he gets paid about what, $400,000, something like that. Yuki Tsunoda. I think it's less than that. And while very unrealistic, imagine if Yuki Tsunoda has some kind of breakout season and scores loads and loads of points. His salary would be gone in paying for it, right? But yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's a lot of money. It is a lot of money. I'd be more interested, actually. Now we've delved into it on chat and that, I'd be more interested to know where that money goes. Does that go to sort of engagement things for the FIA and road safety and all that other stuff that they're involved in, or does it go into a black hole of bureaucracy? I don't know is the answer to that. If anyone does know, please do let me know in the chat, because it'd be good to know, I think. So the next one is, well, this is kind of the cover story, really, because I had to pick something to be a cover story today. How you doing, Sam? Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. What do we think to the new background? What do we think to the new surround and those little advertising bits and things like that? What do you think to all of this today? Because this is all new today. What do you think to it? I had an idea on Friday and then I think it was Friday, and spent absolutely ages putting it together. I've noticed that the date is off the side, actually, which I'll move it now if I can find it. Where is it? There. Let's just. I need to move the size of it a bit. There we go. That'll do for now. While I'm live. Yeah, I only just noticed. It fits on Friday. It doesn't fit on a Monday. It's just a Monday, isn't it? It's just like, nope. Nope. Cheers, Keith. Cheers. How you doing, Scott? Hope you're well. Please do make sure you smash a like on the stream. So, Felipe Massa has been talking about where is it? I had the news article. Right. About Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc and Ferrari in general, and will they win again? And he actually thinks that both of the drivers are title-worthy drivers. Now, that's a question, right? Actually, let's do a really quick poll, right? Let's do a really quick poll. Are both Ferrari drivers capable of winning title? And this is both drivers, not one or the other. Are both of them good enough to, like, if they have the chances presented to them, are both of them, if they have a chance, good enough to win the title? So there's an interesting poll for you in the chat. But he thinks that the both of the Ferrari drivers are capable of winning the world title. And obviously, Felipe Massa is somewhat biased because he, as far as I'm aware anyway, as you can see, he used to drive for Ferrari. In case you don't know, he drove for them for a long time. He had not only a near career-ending, nearly life-ending incident with them at the Hungaroring when a spring fell off the back of, was it the Brawn, and hit his helmet? Horrific incident that he recovered well from. Incredible recovery from that. Drove for them for a long time. Of course, was it 2008? He was one corner away from winning the world title, but Lewis Hamilton overtook Glock, wasn't it? Was it? At the final corner at Brazil to win the title. So for basically 30 seconds, he was world champion. And he probably should have had a world champion during his career. And I think he is a good judge, but he is a little bit biased because he does love a little bit of Ferrari. He says, I really like them. Leclerc and Sainz are title contenders. Ferrari's problem is certainly not the drivers. Charles has shown that he knows how to win if the car is up to the mark. Last year, he paid the price, as did the whole team, after a start in the championship that had him leading in the standings, and then they lost all their advantage in a few races. It'll be important for Frederick Vasseur to build up good relationship with all areas of the team and management. What's playing against him is time, because the Maranello team hasn't won the title for so many years and there's enormous pressure on them. Everyone who has worked with him speaks well of him. He has had so much success in motorsport and has had great experience in team management, but being in charge of Ferrari is completely different. In that sense, it's a big change for Fred as well. If you check out some more established podcasts, most blokes are in a room talking. Your look is far more professional. Well, I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you very much, Keith. Thank you, dude. I work very hard to try and do that, so thank you very much. Nick says, I think I would rather Sainz win the title, much more likability, but was my childhood seeing Ferrari dominate with Schumacher, so would love to see them winning again. Interesting that, Nick. Interesting that. I don't mind Charles. And look, most people won't agree with me, but I recently considered Leclerc, well, okay, not one of, I'll admit it, it was a spot question, the most overrated driver on the grid. And that isn't to say he's bad, but I don't think Charles Leclerc is on the level of a Max or a Lewis, honestly, or even a George Russell. But I know a lot of people will disagree with me, and this is about opinions. This is about opinions. Remember that, guys. You can have a completely different opinion, and that's fine. But I think it's refreshing to see there Nick saying that he would rather Sainz win. I think Sainz, he just got really unlucky, and he's been unlucky because I think he's delivered very well wherever he's been, and he earned another season, a couple of seasons at Ferrari. And I think if he's given a car to his liking, he can cause a lot of headaches for anyone on the grid. Do I think he's up there with the likes of Max and Lewis? No, but I think he's on a level with Charles. I really, really do. I really, really do think he's on a level with Charles, but I think Sainz had a lot of bad luck last season. Something in my head, I don't remember it clearly, is screaming Monaco, or was that Charles? There was something for Sainz last year as well, I'm sure. Paris is going to have you if she hears that. She knows. She knows. She knows. But it's all opinions, isn't it? Some people think Max Verstappen's the best thing since sliced bread. I don't. Some people absolutely love Lewis Hamilton. I don't. I think Fernando Alonso's the best driver on the grid. Everyone else doesn't. It's what being a fan of the sport is, isn't it? You know? Leclerc's really difficult to judge, isn't he? Obviously skilled and quick on his day, but there's something there with consistency which seems an issue. You know what, John? Right? Now, to take everyone back to Turkey when it was raining and Max Verstappen was closing in on, I think it was Perez when he was still at Racing Point and spun, and he had no reason to do what he did. It was crazy, right? Max Verstappen, I said for years, wasn't ready for a world title because he let that get in the way of his driving. And it was completely true. Max Verstappen would lose it, get angry, and he would do silly things. And I said he's not ready to take on many drivers on the grid over a season because he loses his cool to the amount that he makes mistakes. And he was, provably, that is what his issue was. I kind of feel Leclerc has been in that window. He's clearly got pace, but I think mentally, sometimes that side of the situation lets him down. Now, that to me is an age and a maturity thing. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, I don't. And I'm not being an old dude, like, oh, these young'uns. Like, it's true. As you get older, generally, you get more in touch with your own, this sounds all really hippie, but in touch with your own feelings and when you're at a certain level of anger and when you need to just simmer down and take control of yourself. And like Lewis Hamilton, let's face it, he is exceptional at that. He is exceptional at that. Fernando Alonso plays mind games like nobody else, and they're like old on the grid, right? Max Verstappen is at the point now where you'll hear him angry, but I think he's gained more self-control over that, and he's got 2 world titles to show it, right? And I think from the outside looking in, Leclerc gets in his own head a lot, and he just needs to get to that level of maturity where it's not a problem so much for him, where he's thinking, I shouldn't have made that mistake, I shouldn't have made that mistake, I shouldn't have made that mistake. And then that affects more going forward, you know? There is the great drivers do that and then bang, 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 lap, 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 like just godlike laps that don't let it affect them. And I think when/if Leclerc gets over that, we're going to see a different driver there. I think as well, actually speaking about Sainz, I think there is a seriously good driver there, but I also think in a different way, I think he gets in his own head. I think his is more frustration at the minute that he knows he can deliver and he's not getting the car to do what he wants. That's kind of the vibe I get from him, rather than mistakes all over the place. Even though he does make mistakes, I feel like it's a different source of frustration, and Leclerc seems to hammer himself when he makes a mistake. Charlie seems a faster driver, but I think Carlos can be consistent and a better bet over a whole season. Not a bad shout. Not a bad shout. Every issue seemed to affect Sainz first all the time. Big engine fire, etc. Agreed, Ian. France last season with Leclerc in his head. France last season was like a Hockenheim Vettel moment for me, 2018. The moment Leclerc crashed, I thought, the season's done. You hear Charlie calling himself stupid over the radio far too much. Yep, gets into his own head. Would use one loosely with Max? Well, he did. He did. You know, it's one of them things, isn't it? Like, there's something going on in football at the moment. Like, Max did his job. What other people did, it's not up to him, is it? You know? And that's how I see it. That's how I see it about Max Verstappen. He did his job. He didn't go and spend more money and stuff. He still did his job. And that's how I see that. Honestly, it was more of a stupid look for the sport. But the poll has some votes on it. Are both Ferrari drivers capable of winning the title? And 64% of people said, yes, you know what? I'm happy about that because I rate Sainz. And I honestly think generally I think he's a fun guy, but I think he's generally slept on within Formula One because I don't know, he maybe doesn't have the look of a Leclerc or the ferocity of a Max. I don't know what I'd call George, but you know, I feel like Sainz throughout most of his career up to this point has gone under the radar. But if you look at his record, how he's raced against teammates, like he compared very, very favorably against Daniel Ricciardo. He drove very, very favorably against Lando Norris. He deserves his Ferrari seat, you know. And I think people don't give Sainz enough credit or the credit he deserves, quite honestly. But that's just my opinion. But there we have it. Carlos keeps out the limelight and gets on with his job. He does seem to, doesn't he? And he has a laugh when he has a laugh, but he seems very, very focused, doesn't he? And I think that's the frustration you see sometimes when the car isn't really doing what he wants. And hopefully his car's better for him this season. Okay. So today, again, guys, I'm going to be live at 4:45 onwards for the McLaren MCL60 launch. So please do make sure you subscribe down below. I'll be live with that, giving live reaction, and we can chat about it. But 4:45 for that, and then 6:45 for the Aston Martin launch. As you can see, there you go. I've put 5 p.m., but I actually want to be live earlier, don't I? But there you go. I'll be live for both launches this evening. Make sure you're subscribed. You might get a little notification when I go live, but if you don't, I'll be here at 5 o'clock. I'll be here at 7 o'clock for those launches. All right, guys, please do make sure to smash a like on the video and subscribe. I'll see you later for the launches. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.